Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to WNBA Trending. I'm your host, Ava, and tonight's headline is one that combines the worlds of women's basketball, social dynamics, and sports culture in America. A new discussion has emerged involving soccer icon Megan Rapinoe, UConn superstar Paige Bueckers, and the rapidly rising face of the WNBA, Caitlin Clark. At the heart of this conversation is a provocative question. Could Paige Bueckers' identity, being openly gay and unapologetically vocal in her support for Black women, be a reason she has not reached Caitlin Clark-level stardom? This is not just a sports question. It's a cultural one. Tonight, we're going to unpack the comparisons, the history, and the broader implications of how athletes are perceived, celebrated, and in some cases, sidelined by mainstream sports media and fans. Let's start with the names in question. Megan Rapinoe, of course, is one of the most iconic figures in women's soccer. A World Cup champion, an Olympic gold medalist, and a fearless activist, Rapinoe has long been a voice for equality in sports. She's spoken out about pay equity, LGBTQ+ rights, and racial justice. She's both celebrated and criticized for using her platform beyond the field. So when Megan Rapinoe reflects on the differences between Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark, people tend to listen closely. Now, Paige Bueckers is one of the most talented players to ever come through the University of Connecticut, a school with a legendary women's basketball program. Paige burst onto the scene with dazzling ball handling, sharp shooting, and incredible court vision. She won the Naismith Player of the Year award as a freshman, and she seemed destined to become the next big star in women's basketball. But since then, her career has been defined not just by her performances, but also by injuries that slowed her momentum. But beyond basketball, Paige Bueckers made headlines for something very different. During her ESPY Award acceptance speech in 2021, Paige gave her spotlight to Black women athletes, declaring that they were the ones most overlooked and undercelebrated in sports media. For a young white player to use her moment to uplift others was powerful, but it also sparked debate. Some hailed her courage, while others suggested that her message may have alienated certain audiences. Contrast that with Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever's young superstar has become the face of the WNBA almost overnight. With record-breaking performances at Iowa, Clark captured the imagination of fans across the country. She's selling out arenas, breaking TV ratings records, and creating a level of buzz around women's basketball that many say hasn't been seen since the days of Diana Taurasi or Maya Moore. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark, as electrifying as she is, has not been outspoken about social issues in the same way Paige Bueckers or Megan Rapinoe have. She's focused almost entirely on her game and her brand, which makes her more palatable to a broad fan base that might otherwise be turned off by political or social commentary. This is where Megan Rapinoe's question comes in. Is Paige Bueckers being gay and choosing to publicly center her support for Black women one of the reasons she hasn't reached Caitlin Clark's level of stardom? It's a provocative suggestion, but one worth examining. To understand this, we need to look at the intersection of identity and sports marketing. Historically, female athletes who fit into mainstream, heteronormative molds have often been more heavily marketed. Consider tennis. While Serena Williams is one of the greatest athletes of all time, she faced relentless scrutiny for her body, her demeanor, and her outspoken nature. Meanwhile, players who align more closely with conventional images of femininity often received broader endorsement opportunities, even without the same level of dominance. In the WNBA, we've seen similar patterns. Players like Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and Candace Parker have been celebrated, but many stars who are openly gay or outspoken about racial justice have faced more backlash online and, in some cases, fewer endorsements. Megan Rapinoe herself has lived this reality. Despite being one of the most decorated soccer players in U.S. history, she's faced significant criticism for her activism and identity. Paige Bueckers may be encountering a similar dynamic. She's gay, she's unafraid to use her voice for racial justice, and she's had the courage to center others in her moments of glory. But that comes with a cost. She doesn't fit neatly into the mold that sponsors and mainstream audiences might prefer. On the other hand, Caitlin Clark's appeal is undeniable, but it also fits within a narrative that is more marketable to the masses: a straight, white, Midwestern athlete with a laser-sharp focus on basketball and little emphasis on politics. For many fans, she represents a clean storyline of sports excellence, without controversy. That's not to take away from her talent. Clark's game speaks for itself, but it's worth noting how media narratives amplify one type of athlete while sidelining another. Now, let's be clear. Caitlin Clark has earned every bit of her stardom. Her stats, her leadership, and her impact on the court have been extraordinary. But the question Rapinoe raises isn't about taking away from Clark. It's about asking why players like Bueckers don't get the same treatment. Could it be injuries? Absolutely. Could it be timing? Of course. But could it also be tied to identity, activism, and the way America rewards or punishes athletes who step outside the lines of sports? That's where things get complicated. The fan responses have been split. Some argue that Paige Bueckers' visibility would be higher if she stayed healthy and consistent on the court, and that it's unfair to compare her to Clark until she has the chance to play full seasons. Others, however, point to the double standard. Male athletes like LeBron James can be outspoken about social justice while maintaining immense popularity, but female athletes face much harsher scrutiny. In fact, many observers believe Bueckers' SB speech was a turning point. That moment earned her respect in activist circles, but it also drew criticism from those who felt she was being too political. The reality is, in women's sports, being gay and centering Black women in your platform can still be seen as controversial, even though it shouldn't be. So, where does this leave us? Megan Rapinoe's comments aren't about tearing anyone down. They're about shining a light on the systemic issues that shape who becomes a superstar and who doesn't. Paige Bueckers has the talent, the charisma, and the platform to be every bit as big as Caitlin Clark. But her journey is also a reminder that stardom in sports isn't just about talent. It's about identity, timing, media narratives, and cultural politics. As the WNBA continues to grow, and as more eyes turn to women's basketball than ever before, these conversations are going to become even more important.
Who gets the spotlight?
Who gets the endorsements? And who gets left behind because of who they are or what they stand for? For now, Paige Bueckers continues to prepare for her chance to shine at the professional level, while Caitlin Clark carries the banner for the WNBA into a new era. And Megan Rapinoe? She's reminding us all that the game is never just about what happens on the court. It's about the world around it.